is responsible for the recent turn of ill health for our very gracious Majesty, the Queen? Hi, morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. Thank you for joining me today. And yes, we're in another brand new location. Now, if like me, when I first came to London, I'd heard of that term Sloane Square. Do you remember the Sloane Rangers? I think it really was sort of set off by, of course, the late and wonderful Princess Diana. I don't know about you, but I never truly knew what a Sloane Ranger was. And I actually met the guy and interviewed him once who actually came up with that phrase. He wrote a book about it. It kind of took off from that way, making him a multimillionaire. Wish I could have thought of that one. Anyway, also behind me, by the way, is the Royal Court Theatre, a venue I've appeared on, yes. But what's interesting about this particular theatre, it's a little bit posh, if you know what I mean. The greats have appeared there, the Laurence Oliviers, the Richard Burtons, Dame Judys, and me. And then, of course, more recently, well, I say recently, about 40 years ago now, it really came to prominence. That's all thanks to that, what they call kitchen sink drama, the real sort of reality dark plays, Dame Maggie, that sort of stuff, Really is a fascinating place to go and look into, though. Opened in 1888, so a very old theatre, apparently lots of ghosts too. But of course, as ever, back to your breaking royal story of the day. Well, as you know, earlier this week we had the sad news to break to you that our gracious Majesty the Queen had to go to hospital for just some preliminary tests, right? So there was nothing truly to worry about. But as ever with royal stories, they do develop and move forward. Now here is what I can tell you that we know so far. Her Majesty the Queen obviously is now back at Windsor Castle, taking it easy. It's still very undecided if she will attend that climate conference up in Glasgow next week. Let's not forget, we know Her Majesty the Queen truly has her finger on the climate change button. She was talking to John Kerry and of course Bill Gates at that Windsor reception the night before she went to hospital. So we do know that she's fully across everything. But this particular year has been very stressful for, of course, Her Majesty the Queen. Moving aside from the terrible news at the loss of her great partner, His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, it didn't start off well for the year with her because obviously she knew exactly how gravely ill he was. Then the big bang emerged in March. That's all thanks to Harry and Meghan dishing the dirt on the inside track on the British monarchy, which really created a lot of ructions. Now, whatever people say, it did affect Her Majesty the Queen. She sees the newspapers every day, she reads them online, she's totally across what's going on. And it's hard to remember now exactly just how hurtful that particular interview was, because there were claims of bullying, passports being taken away, racial slurs, cut off financially. It was a big royal bombshell. On top of that, of course, Her Majesty has had to deal with Prince Andrew and the debacle that is, well, still ongoing for him. A lot of people, particularly in royal courtiers, are looking to point the blame at certain individuals. It's very difficult to sort of say exactly who is causing our gracious Majesty the Queen the most stress. What we do know as ever is she has a very tight-knit circle around her, including, of course, the Earl of Wessex, Prince Edward, and his wife Sophie, alongside the devoted daughter, the Princess Royal Princess Anne. But, as I say, insiders tell me that that really shouldn't be taken too lightly, the visit to hospital. Her Majesty, and we have to say as ever on the show, allegedly has been suffering from, as you can imagine, certain levels of stress. And I think what she's tried to do is fill the void of course, the great loss of Prince Philip by working extra hard. Now, a lot of people are basically trying to point the finger over at Harry and Meghan. Her Majesty the Queen is a very gracious lady, let me tell you, a very forgiving person and very deeply religious. She doesn't really point the finger at anyone. But as everybody else has noted, that particular interview and that particular exit did nothing to help the health of our gracious Majesty. And if I were Harry and Meghan, I'd be wanting to keep something of a low profile, particularly for the rest of the year, and cause no more anxiety and no more stress. As ever, let me know what you think to this particular story in the comments below. Obviously, we like to be impartial here on the show, but I like to know exactly what you think. Neil Sean, Royal Court Theatre, Sloane Square, London.